Exodus. Amen. If you have your Bibles, turn with me to the book of Acts, the 5th chapter. Acts, the 5th chapter. I'm going to begin reading at verse 12, and we will read through verse 22. I'm reading from the New American Standard Version, and it reads as follows. At the hands of the apostles, many signs and wonders were taking place among the people. And they were all with one accord in Solomon's portico, but none of the rest dared to associate with them. However, the people held them in high esteem, and all the more believers in the Lord, multitudes of men and women were constantly added to their number, to such an extent that they even carried the sick out into the streets and laid them on cots and pallets, so that when Peter came by, at least his shadow might fall on any one of them. Also, the people from the cities in the vicinity of Jerusalem were coming together, bringing people who were sick or afflicted with unclean spirits, and they were all being healed. But the high priest rose up, along with all of his associates, that is the sect of the Sadducees, and they were filled with jealousy. They laid hands on the apostles and put them in a public jail, but during the night, hallelujah, an angel of the Lord opened the gates of the prison, and taking them out, he said, "Go, stand, and speak to the people in the temple the whole message of this life." Upon hearing this, they entered into the temple about daybreak and began to teach. Now, when the high priest and his associates came, they called the council together, even all the senate of the sons of Israel, and sent orders to the prison house for them to be brought. But the officers who came did not find them in the prison. They returned and reported back. Thus ends the reading of our text this morning. For the next few moments, friends, I will share with you from the subject, when folks get free. When folks get free. Today will be our closeout of our series of Rep Your City. We've been talking about this for several weeks now, this idea that the book of Philippians has shared with us, that what does it mean to be a citizen of heaven? We all know what it means to rep Philadelphia when you go somewhere else. Y'all saw the brother on Thursday Night Football. He had the Philly Fanatic tattooed on his stomach. He was repping this city of Philadelphia. But what does it mean to rep your city when your city of origin is heaven? What does it mean to be this child of God as we walk here on this earth? We've done our best to present to you over these last several weeks. We told you that you have the capacity to have Jesus joy. That you have the ability to have the joy of God because God has invited you into his joy. We invited you to this understanding to do what you can. See, sometimes in life we find ourselves in spaces and we are paralyzed because we can't do everything. But just because we can't do everything does not mean we cannot do something. And today we finish up when folks get free. The great revolution of history, beloved, the great revolution of history of humanity, both past, present, and future, is the revolution of those who are determined to be free. Those that are determined to break off the shackles that would seek to consume them. The revolution that we see on our television, the revolution that we hear on the radio, the revolution that we see in our newspaper is a revolution of people who are fighting, who are striving, who want more than anything to be free. To lay off the burdens that someone else would put on them. For they want what God has decided they can have. They believe in what the framers of the Constitution said, that we believe these rights to be self-evident, that all people are endowed with these inalienable rights, among them life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. But it's amazing what happens, Deacon, when people get free. It's amazing what happens when people put into practice their sense of agency, their ability to do as they please. For when people decide they want to do something outside of the norm, when they believe that they're going to trust God for something that their friends don't believe, when they believe that there's a better relationship on the horizon, when they believe that God has a better job for them, when they believe that the doctor's word is not the final say, when they dare to trust in God. Have you ever noticed that when people are getting free, there are those who want to keep them in chains? That's why you got to watch who you hang around. You got to watch the circle you keep. That's why I don't look to have a big circle. I like my small circle. Because see, my small circle is able to respond when I need them to respond. See, if you let too many people in your space, you have too many Doubting Thomases all around. If you tell everybody your dream, you're bound to find someone who does not believe. Some of y'all have been waiting to start a business. But the problem is you telling the wrong folks. Because every time you tell somebody, they think of all the reasons why it won't work. You taking all the advice from folks who have no experience in what God is leading you to. When you decide you want to be free and walk in the power that God has given you, there will be the naysayers every day of the week. They will say black folks don't do jobs like that. They'll say, don't you know you never going to be nothing? I watched 5 Heartbeats again for the 80th time the other night. I got a bad habit. Every time it comes on, I tune myself in. My wife left the room because she couldn't handle it anymore. No more Eddie Kane for me. But see, I remember right before they went on the Apollo stage, and Eddie comes back because he had just told Baby Doll that it's really happening, baby. And he goes home and his father tells him, you're not going to be nothing. Because I ain't nothing. And you ain't no better than me. Some of y'all don't know Eddie Kane, but you know that cousin, that friend, that girlfriend down the block, that man you grew up with who is always telling you what you're not going to be. I've grown tired of folks who have grown comfortable in bondage. I've grown tired of folks who never allow their minds to see anything different. I've grown tired of folks who worship a God who they believe can't do something. I have no time to worship a God who has limitations. I have no time to worship a God who's nervous about President Trump. I have no time to worship a God who doesn't able to sit high and look low and intervene in the life of the people. I serve a God that can do anything. When folks get free. Well, the truth of the matter is, in the text, we see it on a number of levels. When you believe that God is leading you to share Christ with someone else, when you believe that God is going to use you in a mighty way in your family and your community, then you have to believe that something is going to happen. Yes. You must have higher expectations. Yes. Look to your neighbor and say, what you looking for? Now find someone else and say, what are you expecting to happen? You don't want to sabotage yourself just when God has already told you what I'm about to do. You have to have an expectation that when you do what God is leading you to do, that God is going to work through your obedience to change the lives of somebody else. What are you expecting to happen? Here in the text, we see it. The apostles are now finding themselves at Solomon's colonnade, the portico of Solomon. If you look back in antiquity, you'll realize that the gleaming pews, the pillars, the gleaming statues that are all around the temple, right on the east side. That sounds like where the black folks go, right? Right on the east side. Right on the east side, that's where these new fledgling Christians would come together to talk and to gather and to lift up the name of God. Well, in the text we see that as they gathered on the east side, you see that they are doing what God has empowered them to do. They are teaching this gospel of Jesus Christ. They are preaching this gospel of Jesus Christ. And more importantly, lives are being changed. Woe to churches all over the world where nobody's lives ever change. Woe to churches all over the world that have become accustomed, and we have PhDs and proper protocol, but nobody can ever get healed. Nobody ever gets well. Nobody ever gets a burden that's brought down. Woe to us when we are not walking in the power of God. Amen. Well, here in the text, these folks right now, they have already gotten free. See, what have they gotten free of? First, they got free of their low expectations of themselves. See, for a long time, they could only see themselves as the fishermen and the poor folks that God had first called them in the ministry of Jesus Christ. But I want to tell you right now, if I never see you again, God sees more in you than you see in yourself. Because if I was believing myself, I wouldn't have been preaching this long. I wouldn't have been pastoring this long. But the fact of the matter is, God saw something in me before I saw it in myself. Sometimes you got to get free. Here in the text, the apostles have now gotten free of their own low expectations, and they believe that the power that God has given them is able to change the lives of others. But here in the text, we see that as they are there doing the work, we're able to see that it wasn't just people feeling better about themselves, but it was literal, this understanding that people's condition was changing. The condition of the people. Beloved, we walk around and we become so consumed with the politics of our time. Some of y'all not sleeping because you're nervous about President Trump. Some of y'all nervous about all the things that take place in Philadelphia. Some of y'all always talk to your friends on the phone and by text message, I want to move somewhere else. But you have to recognize that if Philadelphia has all of these churches, then somehow we have to have an expectation that people's lives and conditions can change. That things can improve, not because you're so smart and not because I'm so smart, but because we serve God. Look at what the text says. They were there at the portico. They were on the east side. And the text says that believers in the Lord, multitudes were coming and being added to their number. I want you to notice something. I want you to notice that you don't see any gimmicks. Amen. Amen. See, my mother told me before she went on to be with the Lord, she said, Al, remember how you start is how you finish. Amen. Some of y'all brothers having a hard time because you started off giving her caviar and steak, but now you're trying to supersize it on a double Tuesday. See, you had this understanding that said, no, baby, it wasn't me, amen? That's right, you can tell him, that's right, my man loved me, that's right. This understanding that says, here we see people are coming not because of the gimmick, but because of the power. Not because of the gimmick, but because of the power. See, if you have the gimmick in the beginning, you got to keep it up the whole time. But see, if you don't start with the gimmick and you start with the power, see, then the power can continue because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. What he did for Paul and Silas, he'll do for you. And what he did for you back in 85, he can do in 2019 because God hasn't changed. Notice the text, lives are changing because they have led with the power. Lives change. People are healed. Families are restored. And these great numbers of people are coming to God when folks get free. When folks get free and they're able to believe more in themselves and more in you, you will see them trusting you greater. Some of you say, well, why don't you trust me? Because you haven't proven yourself to be trustworthy. Why am I going to let you keep lying to me? Why don't I wait for you to tell me the truth one time? Surprise me. Tell me the truth sometimes. Here in the text, look at what it says. It says that they are putting greater trust into the apostles. And how do you know they're bringing greater trust? Look at verse 15. They are believing that there's a God inside of them so much that they are bringing sick folks. And notice that they're not even taking the sick folks to the apostles. They just laying them on the ground in hopes that the shadow will come over them.
I don't even have to get right next to you. If I can just touch by you a little bit, if the shadow passes by, then I'm able to tap into this power of God. Now you see shadows all in the Bible. You remember what the 23rd Psalm said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why aren't you fearful of that shadow? Because you got a God in the shadow. See, the reaction is folks expect you to be nervous and scared. But if you recognize that my God is everywhere, I don't have to worry in the shadows or in the sun. God will keep me. God will bless me. See, the fact of the matter is, folks will put more trust in you when they are able to see the authenticity of your walk with God, when folks get free. Well, what happens is, and you know this as well as I know this, that when you decide you want something better, when you decide you want something more, when you decide that your dreams will not be deferred, that they will not dry up like a raisin in the sun, when you decide that I want this, there's always going to be somebody who wants to stand in your way. I think the prophet Jay-Z said some people hate this idea that says when you want to be free, there are those who want to put you back into bondage. You remember Harriet Tubman, she went back home after she got free, and Black Moses comes back to get her family, and as they're on the cusp of freedom, you have one person that says, I don't want to go. I don't want to be free today. I've always allowed myself to keep this mind in shackles. There is always somebody who does not want you to be free. Let me see if I can make it plain for you. When you see somebody enjoying their life, without question, let somebody be walking around out here with no shoes on and no shirt, and they got a hat on and sunflowers in their hair. Some of y'all are going to say, what is wrong with them? But really on the inside, we wish we were them. Because we want that freedom of life. We see how free they are, and we will not allow ourselves to stop working for 1 second. We won't allow ourselves to eat dinner with our families. We won't allow ourselves to turn the computer off. Why? Because we're scared of that type of freedom. But there is freedom that comes in God. Look at the text. The text says that as the people are coming unto the apostles, as they are coming bringing their friends, that they might be blessed, that they might be healed, you see in verse 17 that the high priest along with his roadies, they wanted to stand in their way. And the text says they were filled with jealousy. Filled. Everyone say filled. I mean, that's a special type of jealousy, isn't it? I mean, that's not just a little type of jealousy. I mean, you got filled with jealousy. They saying, I can't believe that all them people are going up to those apostles. I can't believe. Why are they going? They don't even have the best cars. They don't even have the finest clothes. They haven't even shaved this week. They don't have the custom suits, and they don't have the wingtip shoes. They haven't gone to the best schools. Why in the world are people going up to them? Well, let me see if I can make it plain to you for a minute. See, there's a few thoughts that come when jealous folks are in your purview. Number one, they are questioning themselves and their own position. They are questioning themselves and their own position. See, you trying to figure out why some folks don't want to hang out with you is because your brilliance is shining a light on the things they have not yet accomplished. Your brilliance is shining a light on those things that they only talk about at night. Your brilliance is showing them that it is possible, and now they are feeling the heat. Look at the jealousy that is full in the high priest. Not only that, but when folks get jealous, they have this idea, I wish it was me. I wish it was me. See, it's so funny to me, and folks get brothers, I talk to brothers sometime, and they get married, and they say, yeah, I'm taken now. I got one wife now, and you fail to realize that if you go to certain places, that wedding ring is almost like a honing device. The women in the place will see you and say, oh, that's one for me. For there's jealousy there. She shouldn't have you. I should have you. And the same thing happens with the brothers and the sisters. You know I'm telling the truth anyway. If you can't say amen, say oh me. This idea that says, here, I wish that was me. I wish I had the car. I wish I had the prestige. And we fail to realize that jealousy will get you nowhere. Because see, even as the high priest was jealous, even as his roadies were jealous, there's a key thing that they were missing, Brother Marty. They don't know the whole story. Amen. See, people see you on the outside and they see where you are now, but see, they weren't there. They weren't there when you didn't have two nickels to rub together. They weren't there when you was riding a bike. They weren't there when you had one set of clothes. They weren't there for the sleepless nights studying those books. They were not there for all the obstacles. But back then you didn't know me, but now I'm hot. You all up on me. This idea has been won. You don't know the story. You don't know what I had to go through to get where I am. You don't know the friends that lied on me. You don't know the bad relationships I was in. You simply don't know. So don't look at my situation now and be jealous. You need to be a celebrator of what's going on now. Because if you only knew the story, oh, I know I'm preaching to somebody today. If you only knew the story, things would be so much different. If they only knew the tears you shed. If they only knew the blood that you bled, if they only knew the sleepless nights you had, then they wouldn't be jealous of your situation. Because I've realized in my life that plenty folks want the winning, shining example, what happens on the other side, but not many folks want to put it in the price to get to where God wants them to be. They want it now. Give it to me now, but the reality says it costs something. All right. See, they're looking at the apostles and they say, well, apostles, we want that power now. We want folks to come to us now, but they weren't in the upper room. See, they weren't there when God said, I'm going to send the Spirit and it's going to give you power that you've never seen before. They weren't there when their friends was getting killed. They weren't there when the persecution was there. But now that they got free, now that they got a few things, everybody's jealous of what's going on. Beloved, I tell you this, never mind yourself with folks that are jealous of your situation. You just ask them if they can walk in the same shoes you walk in. Ask them if they can pay the price that you paid. Ask them if they can give the sacrifices that you've given. And then we will see how many folks want what you got. When folks get free, we see that lives are able to change. When folks get free, you better be ready for the jealousy that is bound to come. But see, jealous folks wish they could stop something, but they really can't stop anything. Look to your neighbor and say, ain't no stopping us now. I just learned about the artist Lizzo. Lizzo, y'all know Lizzo? I just got hit to Lizzo. Some of y'all looking nervous. I helped you today, amen? Lizzo. I was at the gym, I was on my Stairmaster body, it's about 5:30 in the morning, I'm feeling good. And all of a sudden the songs come on and I'm like, who is this? I like this. And it's Lizzo. And you know what Lizzo said? Don't be mad at me. It must be my juice. Did I get it right? It must be my juice. See, some folks mad at you. You don't have to explain anything. Just say, it must be my juice. Blame it on my juice. Because you have something that they didn't have. And the old folks said it this way, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it away. All y'all went to church with me. The jealous folks want to stop something, but the text says that they can't stop anything. Notice what happens. Haters hate in verse 19, but during the night. I want you to notice the night there. If you can stay with me for a minute. Sometimes God wants to know how bad you want it. See, if God rescues all of us in the daytime, we wouldn't have any strength in our lives. Sometimes God makes you wait until it's nighttime. Y'all know what happens when everybody goes to sleep. You start getting in your feelings. Anybody know anything about that? You put a smile on all day at work. You put a smile on with your kids at home. And as soon as everybody goes to bed, somebody pours them a long glass of wine. And they find themselves I know who I'm talking to. I've been this for a long time. this idea that says that now folks are here, and now folks, and you get all in your feelings. When is it going to get better for me? When are things going to work out for me? When are God going to do this for me? When is God going to show up in a real way? Then you start calling your prayer warrior friends, and you start saying, I need you to pray for me about the situation. And God is just waiting to find out, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want what you say you fasted and praying for? How much do you want what it is? I'm going to wait till it's 11:59, Jesus. Come and Savior. I'm going to wait till 11:47 to make sure that you have realized that your hope is built on nothing less than Jesus is good and his righteousness. Notice what the text says. The text says that here during the night an angel of the Lord opened the gates of prison. And taking them out, he said, go stand and speak to the people in the temple the whole message of this life. Upon hearing this, they entered into the temple about daybreak and began to teach. Now notice this, y'all. Now when the high priest and his associates came, they called the council together. And they were trying to figure out how in the world did these brothers get out of jail. Ain't no stopping us now. Some folks are so basic. They think that they can really stop what God got going on. Some folks are so trivial and so juvenile to think that them as a created being can stop you as the called and elect of God. Some people just simply don't understand how God works. If God is your enemy, it's a bad situation. But if God is for you, he's more than the world against you. Notice what happens when folks got free. Lies begin to change and jealousy begin to raise up. And then when they thought they had won, God came again and opened up the prison door. I came to tell somebody today that God is ready to open up a door for you that you've been trying to open for yourself for too long. God says ain't no stopping you now. If you want to do something, go on and do it. Because when folk get free, we start living dangerously, believing that God can do exactly what God said he can do. See, if you're going to believe God, you got to believe him wholeheartedly. If you're going to trust the Lord, you got to trust him wholeheartedly. Is God who he said he is? Or does he have a double life on Facebook? Is God who he said he is? Or does he have a fake account on Instagram? Is God who he said he is? Or is he tweeting under an anonymous name? I truly believe that God is exactly who God said he is. He's a friend to the friendless. He's the hope to the hopeless. He's the love to the loveless. That God is a healer. That God is a way maker. That God is a heart fixer. That God is a mind regulator. That God can do it cheaply. That God is able to sit high and look low and allow the sun to rise. That God is exactly who God said he is. God, who is it who he said he is? Well, God is exactly who he said he is. He will hold your hand through the night of your life. He will bless you on the other side. That God is able to do exactly what he said. He's been free. But when folks get free, they start believing God. When folks get free, they start trusting God. When folks get free, they're able get free. They believe that the government is built on the shoulders of Jesus. So never mind what they try to do to you. Never mind when they try to stop you. Never mind when they start hating on you. You just keep on believing that when folks get free. To leave out of here with a nice little nugget. And folks start asking you, why are you so special and why are you so kind and why does God keep blessing you? You just let them know that the Lord made me free. And who the Son has set free is free indeed. Therefore there is no condemnation in those that are found in Jesus Christ. For it was freedom that Christ set you free. So stand firm. Stand firm. Don't let it be subject to slavery anymore. You need to start believing what God said about you, not what somebody else said about you. You need to start believing what God has done for you and not what someone else did for you. You need to start believing that you are beautifully and wonderfully made by God, and that the God who began a good work in you is the same God who is faithful to perform it. When folk get free, you're going to see Philadelphia change. When folks get free and realize that none of these children need to go to school where there is some type of asbestos, when we understand the truth of it, oh, I get it in a minute. This idea that says God is calling you to a radical understanding of freedom. You're tired of being in bondage. I want you to come today. If you're tired of dealing with the addiction, I want you to come today. If you're tired of feeling as if you're not enough, I want you to come today. If you're tired of all these things happening, I want you to believe that God made you free. And if you point to yourself, if you tell your neighbor, if you tell all that around you that now that I'm free, God is going to do something else in my life. Let us stand. The doors of the church are open. Don't give up on God, hallelujah. Because He won't give up. We are like, here it is, He's able. Whoa, He's able. Tell me one more time, God is able to. Just what? Every promise, don't give up on God, because He won't give up on you. Oh yeah, but out of it, He's able. Whoa, He's able. Let's take it to the bridge. Everybody say, oh. Oh, one more time, let's go. Oh, hey, Grant, come here, Grant. He's able. 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 He can do it. He can do it. He can do it. He can do it. Don't give up.
Y'all just stay with me 1 second. Just musicians play softly 1 second. I asked my nephew, my youngest nephew, I asked him to come up here for a second. And the reason why is because when I said good morning to him this morning, I could see in his face that some mornings aren't the best mornings, amen? Amen. But I want him to know, and I want the young folks to know that God is able. You see, the reality says that sometimes we say we're going to hold off on telling our children some things because they may not understand. But see, you don't have to understand everything about God to believe God. See, this reality says that He's able. So, Grant, I don't know what happened last week I don't know on the video game. I don't know on the phone. I don't know. But I do know this, that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than you quiet because you don't want to embarrass your uncle. You just say, God's able. And see what happens, you say it one time and then all of a sudden, God's able. And then you say it 2 times and then all of a sudden, God's able. And then it's like Jeremiah said, it's like fire shut up in your bones, but God's able to do exceedingly. He's able. Come on, everybody say, oh, Lord. I know, we got to go. It's dangerous when I take my glasses off. I don't know what time it is. Sister Georgina, come on over here. Hey everybody, I know. This is Sister Georgina Jordan. Say hi, Sister Georgina. Sister Georgina's been coming for a while now, right? She's so cool. She comes in, looks so smooth. Today, Sister Georgina says she wants to join with us. Sister Georgina, you just say this with me. Say, I confess that Jesus is Lord. I believe in my heart that God raised him from the dead. With my heart, I have believed that results in righteousness. With my mouth, I make confession. That results in salvation. Hallelujah. I know I'm saved. You been baptized? You want to get baptized again? Well, we welcome Sister Georgina. Amen. Don't give up on God, 'cause He won't. Don't give up on God. One more time, don't give up on God. He's able. Well, we gotta go. We don't have to go. But I want y'all to come next week, so we're gonna go today. Amen. It's amazing how many pastors haven't learned that lesson yet. You keep them too long, you'll see them in 3 weeks. Amen. But you let them out right on time. They start feeling good because when folk get free, they come back to church. Madam President, come on up here. You all right? Amen. We graduated from here today. Amen. Sister Brown, and she's in Philadelphia now. You're from Michigan. Amen. But how many people know the same God of Michigan is the God of Pennsylvania? God bless you. And may your reign be prosperous. Amen. Just find a neighbor, and I want you to look him right there in the face. Now, don't be nervous. You don't have to give yourself a breath test. Here, all you gotta do. Oh, hold on, there's 3 folks right here. Young brother, you come with me. Come on. This is a big guy. Is this the football player? Man, don't hurt me, man. All right, everybody got their neighbor. Everybody's looking right at him, right? And you say this with them. You say, I wish you peace. I wish you peace. I wish you joy. I wish you joy. I wish you blessing. I wish you blessing. As you follow God. As you follow God. To change the world. To change the world. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God keep you. May God keep you. This day and forever. In Jesus' name. And now unto him who is able to keep us from falling, and to present us faultless before his presence with exceeding joy. To the only wise God be glory and majesty, power and dominion, both now, henceforth, and forever. And all of God's people, as the church say, let the church say, God has spoken, God has spoken. Let the church say, one more time, let the church say, let the church wonderful day.